We have so much to talk about today. First, we'll be talking about the usage stats for January and compare them to the month prior and how the tiers have shifted. Of course, we'll be talking about as well what you want to see and the crazy new rises and drops in the tier. I mean, just to give you a little example, look at Gengar right there in RU. Look at Manaphy, Hydreigon, Salamence in the RU tier. What is going on and how that also affects the usage stats here for all around. If you do enjoy this content, make sure you let me know by leaving a like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'm hitting 500,000 subs this year, whether you like it or not. I'm gonna hit that 500k, but if you want to help me get there a little bit easier, you can sub today and that'll help me get there by the end of the day. So first off, let us look at the usage stats for January and compare them to the previous month. Some of the immediate changes we see is that Iron Boulder is no longer in top 10 and neither is Gouging Fire. In fact, Iron Boulder is all the way down at number 22 and we have Gouging Fire at number 17. So that's a pretty big jump from 18% usage all the way down to whatever number 22 is for that. Obviously, we know it's less than 13% usage just based on the fact that Slowking is at 14% usage in top 10. The next jump is that Dragapult is back in top 10 at number 8 in usage after being at number 21 in usage. Right now, one of the best Dragapult sets is Focus Sash Lead because it lets you play your Dragapult risk-free. Normally, you have to switch out when you get KO'd. Now, you have a Focus Sash and you can Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave and Hex and Dragon Darts without really fearing being knocked out. I love that King Gambit and Great Tusk are simply going back and forth between number 1 and 2 every single month. Golden Ghost still being in the top 5 as well. Iron Valiant is back at number 5. Prior to the sleep ban that we recently had, both Val and Darkrai were being used a lot on same teams just to spam Hypnosis and try and get away with it. We see Volcarona back as well in the top 10 of usage. And Gliscor, Roaring Moon. Hatterene has fallen off, but it's only number 12, so it's still not even that bad. And then I think some of the other big changes we have is that Deoxys was number 12 in usage back in December. But in January, Deoxys is falling down to number 32 in usage. So do you still think Deoxys and Darkrai are too much for the tier? I guess with the sleep ban, Darkrai is definitely not too much for the tier. Though they could have still looked at Darkrai. But Deoxys definitely has shown that it is not being used as much as it was previously. And then we also see Roaring Moon, about the same in usage right here. I think our Chaladon is probably the biggest one, and Kyurem obviously moving up to number 11 from number 19. What are your thoughts on that in general? Even Sun is slowly backing out of the tier, as Torkoal was number 30, but now it's going to number 41. I think one of the coolest changes, though, that we'll be talking about is the tier shifts. And we're talking about the rises first, even though we got some crazy drops, because these rises are basically just as crazy. So, from UU to OU, we have Alomola and Iron Treads. Absolutely huge, because Iron Treads was number 1 in UU for months. Ever since it dropped, it's been the number 1 most used Pokemon in UU for good reason. Booster energy, great Rapid Spinner, checks Latios and Garchomp as well. With Ice Spinner, has Earthquake. It's just consistent. It's consistent. It's a great spin. When you're a Steel type, I mean, there was a reason why Tinkaton was number 1 for a long time in the UU tier before, you know, other Steels like Iron Treads and Scizor started to take over. It just gives you so much utility in one Pokemon. And Alomola was number 7. On balance, it was incredible. Its main role was to Wish Pass and Flip Turn around to the entire team. So why have these Pokemon moved up? So let's look at Alomola first. It does the exact same thing in the OU tier that it does in the UU tier. However, recently a user by Super G Money posted an RMT, or a user by the name of Super G Money posted an RMT that got number 2 on the ladder with Hydrapple Stall. And what does that team have? Number 5 Pokemon. Number 5 Pokemon right here. The number 5 Pokemon. It is an Alomola passing Wish throughout the team and Flip Turn. We can even just look at the Pokepace and it's right there. It's Boot Spam, Wish, Protect. Yep. Just pass. And yes, you do see Poison Sting and Bulldoze here. Why? Because Amnesia, Poison Sting, Bulldoze allows you to PP stall and beat the stored power users. Which is something I'm going to mention a little bit later when we talk about a few other Pokemon. But Alomola is good on that. It's good on balance in general. It's mainly just Wish Passing. That's all it's doing. And when you look at Iron Treads has actually found itself used more on both Rain and also Sun, believe it or not, especially in tournaments. But on Rain, it gives you your Rapid Spinner. It also gives you Volt Switch for opposing Pelipper. You can use Earth Power over Earthquake because this does a little bit more to Iron Treads as well as Great Tusk. And then Steel Beam is fine, and there's other options as well. But it could also be a Stealth Rocker for Rain too, considering Rain doesn't have a lot of... Rain has like limited slots, right? You need your Pelipper, you need your Swift Swim user, you probably need Archaludon, and then you kind of go from there. Raging Bolt is another option too. So Treads gives you a Dragon Resist for Rain, which is the big one, and then also gives you a Rocker as well. If you look right here in yesterday's video where I showed off CTC's games, which you definitely should check out if you haven't, both CTC and his opponent are using Iron Treads, and CTC's using Rain, and his opponent's using Sun. And it's crazy that Iron Treads is actually really good on Sun too, even though, Great Tusk is better because of photosynthesis, or better in stronger in that regard. It's always stronger. Because again, it gives you that second spinner. It also gives you a Dragon Resist, which is something that Sun lacks half the time. And it also gives you rocks, and you can do double rocks as well. You don't have to really worry about Torkoal tanking the hits. So pretty big for that mon that it ended up moving up, and again, pretty crazy for the UU tier. It just changes everything for UU. So what do you think is actually going to rise up to take its place in the UU tier? Because the immediate thought would be Excadrill, right? But Excadrill is number 42 in usage currently in OU, so it's still OU by usage, and a lot of people use that Swords Air Balloon set. Terrablast Ghost lets you basically smack Golden Go and then spin on something like Golden Go because it's gone. So it's interesting because before Tinkaton was number 1 for a long time, and then Treads came and took its place. I assume that Donphan will be something that moves up because some version of Donphan has to be there. Donphan was top 10 in usage before Treads came to the tier. Barraskewda jumped all the way from the RU tier to OU. You know what Barraskewda is doing. You've seen it on the ladder. It has not changed its set ever since it's been around. In fact, it getting flip turn back obviously was the biggest thing for it. That's why we see it over something like Floatzel, even though I thought it was really cool that we saw Floatzel for the majority of the early generation on Rain. But from RU to OU, we do have Barraskewda. Rain, it's just all Rain. Barraskewda is the best Swift Swim user you can use next to Kingdra. The best physical one, has flip turn as well, and just hits really hard. And that's why it's there. This, plus like Archaludon, is a straight up staple, but this is a big difference for RU, because you see right there, Politoed moved up from NUBL to RU, and then same thing with Overcoil, and both of them, and we'll talk about the Overcoil one in a second, but both of them, look at RU. Basculegion and Barraskewda, 7 and 8. Rain was good. Rain was really good. Rain was very strong in the RU tier. So for Rain to be gone, Barraskewda being a huge one that could check like Zaru to close combat and could flip turn around and bust Mixes Skies, Aqua Jet for like Mammo and things like that. So absolutely huge mon that is gone from RU. And I'm sure like a lot of the RU players are happy because a lot of people don't like Rain when it comes to lower tiers because it's very oppressive. But you even have Terrakion. Big shout to Terrakion beating the PU allegations. Now RU as well. I'm assuming similar to, like, it'll be Elite Terrakion or just Scarf or Bandit. I mean, Scarf looks good. Look at the first 3 Pokemon. Scarf looks great. Bandit looks very hard to switch into as well when it comes to these Pokemon, even just Life Orb. But yeah, NU losing Overcoil is a pretty big change for NU as well. Because while Overcoil might not have been a top 10 mon in the RU tier, it was still good on Manual Rain as well before NU ended up banning Politoed. Not Manual Rain, but Rain before NU banned Politoed. It was a great spiker, and it was something that could still check a majority of the... It was like a B tier, B plus mon in terms of viability, but could still check Serena very well. Could check Tauros as well. You know, stops Espeon from clicking Psychic, can check Glowbro type of thing. So a pretty big loss for the tier. We do see Emboar moving up to NU as well. Basically, banded, strong. That's what Emboar was. 2 KOs Gligar, Reckless Flare Blitz, has knockoff and sucker for Chandelure, the best fire type in the tier, and also resist the fire move from it, and tanks a Shadow Ball as well. Just big raker. We have Vileplume as well being in NU. I mean, if you look at the usage stats for the PU tier, while Vileplume wasn't top 10 in usage, Registeel was literally number 1, so they lost their absolute best steel type, and now it's just gone. But yeah, setting up rocks for NU, and then basically Iron Defense spamming was what Registeel mainly did in the tier. And outside of that, it was really just not doing... It doesn't have like Toxic or anything, so it's a pretty big one. But Vileplume is strong. It's a great answer to Flygon, which is literally S rank, literally the best mon in the current NU tier. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. But I want to note that Vileplume is still pretty deadly, considering it can't Sleep Powder, right? Sleep Powder is gone, but it has Effect Spore, so you have the chance to put the opponent to sleep on U-turns. Poison them with Effect Spore, and Stun Spore is still really good. But the main thing is going to be Strength Sap, Giga Drain sets as well, which are strong. Because even something like Serena with Triple Axle wouldn't KO Vileplume, defensive Vileplume from full. Vileplume also dealt with the number... Sorry, I'm like a little tired, so I guess my words are coming out like a little like slurred, but it dealt with the number 6 most used mon in the tier and the number 5. I was really good into both of them because it can just deal with them, Strength Sap back, infinite Strength Saps versus the NC as well because of Clear Body, and then of course, unless it's Calm Mind NC, and then of course, or Mystical Fire, and you can Giga Drain and you can just Strength Sap it back. So that was like the big thing for all those are some pretty big rises, I think, in most of the tiers. I think the biggest one is obviously the first 2 we saw because they were both top 10 in usage, and then Barraskewda is a pretty big one for the RU tier as well. And then losing Overqwil and for NU is pretty big, especially because, I mean, we're going to talk about the exciting ones, but the drops and where everything gets a little bit crazy. All right, so Iron Crown has fallen off and is now in the UU tier. I actually like it for UU. I think it's going to have... I think the power level of UU is actually enough for this Pokemon when you look at the UU tier. Like, yeah, you got your Garchomp, your Latios, your Greninja, a simple Terra, and I'll be fine. Versus those Tachyon Cutter, Calm Mind, Store Power, Iron Moth being able just to eat a hit from it as well. Just setting up on Torn too. I'm sure like some weakness policy sets can be really cool with agility. But yeah, it just wasn't enough. When you look at OU, it just wasn't competing with it. Why would I use that mon when I can use the broken booster energy mons like Raging Bolt or even Gouging Fire from there? Psychic Terrain spam also. Psy spam in general just kind of fell off from earlier in the month, with Deoxys kind of leading it to, you know, number 32 in usage. So same thing with Volcarona. You also have the rise of Amnesia Clodsire, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Like that mon kind of just shuts down that mon completely. Doesn't care about the store power boost, has the Terra Dark, and then Amnesia's up, and then beats it 1v1 via Bulldoze and stuff like that. I don't think it's a bad mon at all. I just think that it kind of forces Terra. I think that on some versions, you can use the Calm Mind Expanding Force set with Psy Spam, which is already shaky in its own regard. It's also very slow. Even with a booster energy boost, it's very slow. So you have to use Agility, Calm Mind sets to kind of get past that speed weakness when it comes to this Pokemon. But I think it's going to be solid. I think it's going to be great in UU, actually. I really do. I think also losing Iron Treads makes it a lot better as well. Something that can kind of just sit in on both of its stabs. There are other steel types in the tier, obviously, but I think that Treads was a big one that had at least the leftovers recovery to be able to take the Tachyon Cutters, the stored powers, and whatever it really wants to go for. I think it's going to be solid in UU, though. I think it's really, really going to be solid. Yadu Petra Dirty. I love this. I love this mon. I absolutely love this mon. I think that it is another one of those going to sit on fat and kind of just do its thing. Obviously, steel types in general are so strong into this Pokemon. It's Scissor's number 5 in usage, so you're not going to be able to poison that. But otherwise, I mean, shoot. A Terra? I feel like this mon's going to make a lot of use of Terra too, but that's another thing too. Like, in order to hit the steals for better damage, or you can't get your main niche is being able to poison Puppeteer around. But I do think something along the lines of like a Malignant Chain and a Parting Shot set with Recover as well, and then you go like Hex or Shadow Ball will be solid. It's Fizz Def, so we'll be able to eat multiple hits as well as Stop Setup, and Calm Mind, or excuse me, Nasty Plot sets are going to be strong. Doesn't get Calm Mind, but Nasty Plot sets are going to be really cool. I think the Curse, or not the Curse, but the Mean Look potential sets have a lot. You could do Mean Look Curse as well, but its ability is always going to be good. I think Foul Play is going to be nice. I mean, it's not like it dies to Scizor at +2 anyway. It eats a hit. I'm pretty sure it eats +2 Foul Play easily. Look at that. If it can live like Headlong Rush from Great Tusk, it definitely eats that, especially with Terra as well. But I think it's going to be a big little annoyance in the tier. I think the fact that it can actually spam Toxics as well is big and get the confusion. But speaking of spamming Toxics, we were waiting for this. All it took was Raging Bolt and a few of the mons to come And goodbye, Toxapex. Toxapex is now UU. Toxapex has really been... It's had an unfortunate Generation 9 time. Like, it had time where it was running offensive Assault Vest sets, which is really cool. And then they introduced all these new Pokemon, the DLCs and all this stuff. And then Pex kind of like started to slowly but surely decline. The fact that it doesn't beat Golden Go or do anything like that. The big thing is that no Scald and no knockoff. I don't know why I put scary face there. But the big thing is no Scald and no knockoff. So it's just way too passive of water. And it was already a passive water, but not really, because between Scald, knockoff, and toxic, you were either statusing your opponent. It has toxic, but you were either statusing your opponent or you were burning them. You were punishing them. You were punishing plays just for existing. With regen, you'd be there. Some of my chairs like creaking, but regen, you be there and you keep living. You have the recovery, you got the haze, and go from there. But finally, it has caught up to them, and there's a reason why. If you look at the OU tier list right now, what water types are right now considered OU? You got Primarina, which can Scald, but also does a lot more. You have Walking Wage, which can also Scald, but also does a lot more. Samurai gets up Hazards. Pelipper doesn't Scald, but it doesn't matter because it gets a brain. You need Pelipper, right? You also have Alamola, which can actually Scald and punish you as well, and has regen and flip turns to the whole team and wish passes and all like that. Dozo curses, so it has a different role than that Pokemon. So, and Ogerpon is obviously Ogerpon physical, but it just doesn't have enough. Like, I mean, imagine this Mon and trying to set up with like King Gambit in front of it. You actually can set up with King Gambit in front of it, but imagine if it had Skull. You know, it'd be scary. It'd be actually terrifying. But Toxapex has finally fallen down to the UU tier, and I'm okay with that. I'm honestly okay with that. I don't even think it's gonna be broken in UU. look at the Garchomp, Latios, Torn, which is literally just gonna come in and pivot out, come in and pivot out forever and ever and ever. Same thing. There will be a nice little check to like Moth and Scizor to an extent, because even Scizor, depending on what Terra, can SD beat it too. Greninja, I think it's probably one of the better stops to Greninja this year, because Greninja is actually really good, right? Both Protean, Battle Bond are solid. So Pex actually being there is pretty big as a nice anti-Gren. But like Latios is incredible in UU, and obviously you can just spam, and even more so now that Iron Tread is gone, can spam Luster Purges, can spam Dracos. Latios is the reason, same thing with Greninja, the reason why Tornadus are mainly running Assault Vest right now. I think Pex can get away with something similar, but I do think Special Defensive Pex looks pretty solid in this tier. And it's actually one thing I wanted to comment about, because a lot of people were waiting for, me included, the fall of both Pex and Landorus itself. But Landorus ended up being number 19 usage this month. All it needed was something like Raging Bolt and something like Roaring Moon coming back that it can come in on and just U-turn out. That's all it can do. Can't really do much. Can't Toxic, can't Knock Off, can't Defog. But at least it can come in, get up rocks, can U-turn out. That's all Landorus needed. He needed more physical Mons coming back, and you know, electric type Mon that actually has an electric priority as well that came back. But yeah, so pretty big for that Mon. Pretty whack for Pex. Goodbye Pex. I don't know. I gotta try it out on you. I really do. I'm sure like on a stall team it's gonna be absolutely fine to try, but I think in general it's gonna be Pex. Yeah, it's gonna be Pex. It'll still be fine. Just the lack of Skull, the lack of knockoff, too big. So from UU to RUBL, we have Halucha and Iron Leaves and Poltergeist. I actually think Poltergeist is incredible on size spam, and I think its size spam is really, really strong. I used it to climb up 150 points to high ladder just the other day with Hitmonlee, which is pretty crazy. But fell off. I think Lucha falling off had more so to do with the fact that like you got Lottie, Greninja, you got Torn, you got to set up on Scald, Aloe, so much priority, Rocky Helmet, Defensive Chomp, there's like Server Legend, the tier 2, like it's just so much for it. Same thing like I think with Iron Leaves as well. Iron Leaves, there was a UU not too long ago where Iron Leaves was actually broken, but now, you got to compete with all these Mons, the priority, the other booster energy Mons as well that are faster. So I was checking the RU thread to see if they're going to unban anything. I don't think they are, because this is all Fellaburn said. Here's what we got, here's what we lost. Tell me what you think. So, typically when we get tier changes, you'll see everything get unbanned. But I think the reason, and maybe I could be wrong, I'll scroll again, I'll see anything here. But I think the reasoning being is there's a tournament coming up really soon for RU, and they're going to do more bans than they're going to do unbans. So there's no point in unbanning these RUBLs. It's a little sad, to say the least, but let's talk a little about these RUs and how they're going to compete in this tier. So, Araquanid from UU to RU. Webs, obviously incredible. Rain Webs sounds pretty nasty too. Or Rain, just water boosted attacks from Araquanid's water bubble. A water bubble are going to be insane. You know, you got the Politoed, you got this. So you're going to run some type of Politoed plus a combination. Of course, Kingdra is right there too. You might have lost Barraskewda, right? Biggest loss for Rain down here, but you also gain Manaphy and Kingdra. So pretty huge for Rain. I think these guys very solid together. I don't even know if you really need to run Araquanid with that. I think just Terra Water Araquanid is going to be insane in this tier. Let's look through the RU tier in itself and see what can actually deal with an Araquanid. What water absorbed mons we have here. None of you. Yeah, Chestnut, probably one of the better ones. Yeah, if Crawdaunt can exist down here, then Araquanid definitely can. And you know, Crawdaunt's better because knockoff spam. But yeah, for the most part, I think it'd be fine down here. You might see it being a little bit scary on some versions of Trick Room, on some versions of Rain, but I think it'll be fine. I think one of the coolest ones we have is Armarouge down in RU. Armarouge was an amazing Pokemon in RU. This mon sounds incredible, right? Because first off, Psy Spam is a thing because Indeedee is right there. Indeedee's right there, right next to Incineroar. Indeedee is literally right there. Let me see if I can hover over it. I guess I can't, but Indeedee's right there, right next to Incineroar. So the immediate, when I'm looking at this tier, I'm already thinking Armarouge, Indeedee. Unfortunately, Poltergeist isn't around, but I'm already thinking about Psy Spam teams like that. Necrozma, that can put in a ton of work with it. Calm Mind, Stored Power variants, I think are going to be really nasty. I do think that this tier does have good priority, right? You have Conkeldurr, which doesn't matter as much, but I think the big one is Slitherwing. So Slitherwing's, you know, RU usage is right there. It's funny to see like Slitherwing had actually fallen off. It was top 10 in usage at a point, and then it ended up falling down. When you have Tinkaton, you have Enamorus and things like that, but you do have quite a bit of priority. And Mimikyu is going to be a nice little anti-offense. You're probably running it for your Rain and for your Psy Spam in itself. But I do think the Iron Defense Stored Power sets are always going to be good no matter what. I'm a big fan of Blastoise. Rapid Spinning, Support, Shell Smash is going to be nice. When it comes to Blissey in this tier, though, Blissey is going to be interesting because it doesn't really beat any of the top 10, period. Doesn't beat any of the top 10. But if you look at the actual RU tier, what fat, bulky mons can we pair with a Blissey? So you got Blissey Gastrodon, obviously. Blissey Fortress as well can be cool. Blissey Inteleon. But you also have Chansey right there in usage. And, you know, if we look at the RU usage stats, Chansey is actually considered a C rank mon, at least prior to all these stat changes. I mean, with the influx of fighting types and all these other tiers in this, it's just, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense with Rain being top tier as well as Root up there. So I don't think we're going to see a lot or too much from Blissey in this tier in itself. But of course, it can actually afford to run leftovers, whereas Chansey has to run Eviolite to be the bulky threat it wants. Breloom in RU is insane, and if you said that to a DPP player, they or even a Gen 5 player, they probably strangle you. But then they'd also look at, oh, Gen 5 already banned Sleep a long time ago, and I think that's like the one generation where Sleep should be banned, period. No questions asked. Hell yeah, the Sleep reset is so dumb in that generation. It is absolutely so dumb in that generation. But Breloom falls down here. Now, does that mean it's going to be bad here? I mean, with Tornadus being in UU and not in the not in this tier, and I guess the big one would be what, Fezandipity. What's stopping me from running Bullet Seed, Bulldoze for Fez? Which is Technician boosted. You got your Mach Punch, and then whatever other attack you want to run here for your last move. Whether it wants to be like a Gunk Shot for grasses or anything like that. Just looking through the tier, Gunk Shot could be cool for Bramble-Ghast, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't appreciate a Bullet Seed anyway. Other than this Pokemon, Gunk Shot for like Chestnut and stuff like that too. Seems pretty cool. Yep. So I can see like a little Gunk Shot or a Terra Swordsdance set. I think Swordsdance would be pretty cool too. Just for the added power for Mach Punch and of course Bullet Seed, being able to take off KO a few priority mons. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that for Breloom. I actually am a big fan of Comfey. I think because this tier does have Rain, Comfey looks really good, especially with the, you know, the rise of Kingdra, Draining Kiss. Obviously, you got the Gauge Drain as well for the others, and just Calm Mind, and maybe even Terra Blast, something for Steel. Either ground or water can also work too for the water. I actually think water actually has a lot of viability. Not only will it allow you to beat something like Incineroar or threaten something, as well, like be neutral to Cabalion's Iron Hair, resist rather, and be neutral to fighting, which is okay. If they CC, you're going to get a lot of recovery back, but the resistance to Manaphy and things like that sounds pretty cool, so I kind of like that. And I like that Gauge Drain will help you deal with like things like Rhyperior anyway, even though you have Terra Blast Water prior to it. Yeah, I actually really, and I'm sure you can run more defensive Terras as well, which I think will be fine too, to avoid like Toxic, so Steel and Poison obviously come to mind when it comes to this. I actually think Comfey looks really cool, maybe even anti-meta in this tier. We'll see how that ends up going. Cresselia is always going to be a good Pokemon no matter where it goes, in my opinion. Screens, setup, Calm Mind on Cheese, like Cheese offenses. Cresselia can just do that, period. That is what Crest is going to do, and I think it's going to do that like well. There's an influx of fighters in the tier, so Crest can just sit on them. Morning Sun has the Moonblast for things like Hydreigon in the tier now. Gonna be fine. I would be like, Donphan's gonna be a good Pokemon, period. period. It's just gonna be your reliable Stealth Rocker, your reliable Rapid Spinner. Has knockoff, has Rapid Spin, has Ice Shard as well for Salamence and things that are gonna be in this tier too as well. And yeah, heavy duty boots as well can just let you keep your sturdy, so you get a guaranteed one, which I like a lot when it comes to this Pokemon. I would not be surprised at all if Donphan just moves back up to UU, just because they just lost Iron Treads and now they're praying for a spinner, and Donphan is a good spinner. That's literally the reasoning. I would not be surprised. Now, it doesn't match up as well versus like Tornadus as Iron Treads did, but I still wouldn't be surprised if that Mon runs it up there. For Ralligator, nice little setup, nice little sheer force. Might be the one tier where the power is, okay enough. And it actually does look like everything around, like the power isn't so broken that this Mon can't break. I mean, no, you got Dozo, you ain't ever breaking OU with that. When it comes to UU offensive water types, right, I have Greninja, which is big as well. And let's look at the other UU's offensive waters that kind of face competition. Azu is just a strong hitter in itself. Yeah, Azu, Greninja are just the big ones. Keldeo as well from the special side. Quackable from the physical side. So I think when it comes to RU, it might find its place as just set up. It looks really hard to switch into when it comes to this tier. Like very, very difficult. And Swords Dance sets seem really good. Aquajet for priority. I like Swords Dance as well because you'll actually be able to break through something like Gastrodon. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. I love Gallade. I think Gallade is... I'm surprised it was still UU. But Gallade has always been a strong Pokemon. I wouldn't put it past Gallade to fall down to NU, but I do think that agility 3 attacks is always going to be strong, especially everything's being sharpness boosted, so you use sort of a close combat now, you don't have to use anything. Cycle Cut's actually good now, which is really cool. You get a Night Slash or whatever. So an agility 3 attack set is good. Bandit obviously sounds good as well. I think this tier might power creep it a little bit, but because there's so many fighting types for competition when it comes to this tier, right? Like offensively, there's so many fighting types. You got Loom, you got Zapdos, just breakers as well, just like Gallade. Literally breakers, just like Gallade. Whereas Galarian Zapdos has U-turn, and Breloom has strong stab priority. Of course, Gallade can do that too with Swords and Shadow Sneak, Terra Ghost. But yeah, Galvantula. When it comes to Sticky Web in this tier, let's look at what we got in the RU tier, both Araquanid and Galvantula. That's about it. So Sticky Webber, maybe like some sort of offense. Kind of not sure if I would use Galvantula over Araquanid on offense, just because I kind of like the can't switch into liquidation bit about Araquanid that makes it like so hard, but to switch into to take hits from. But then again, Galvantula can also Thunder Wave stuff. Obviously, the number one Sticky Web use is going to stay Ribombee. That's how you always stay Ribombee, but the Mon's not in the tier. Gastrodon is another Mon that for a while was in RU, if I'm not mistaken. For a while it was actually in UU, excuse me. It was a while in UU. Spikes was the big one. I think it's going to be a nice bulky spiker for the tier that can recover, and that's basically what Gastrodon's going to do. It's gonna sit there. It's going to be recovery. Spadef is going to be able to wall Gengar and stuff like that, just like it did in older tiers. You can Earth Power, you can run Spikes, recover. Some might run Terra Ghost for Rapid Spin, depending on the tier itself. Although that'll hurt your Gengar. Doesn't have Scald, which is unfortunate, but can still Surf, can still Ice Beam. And it probably will run this literal exact set, just because that'll allow it to also deal with things like Salamence as well in the tier. I will say that, there's a lot of waters in the tier that do threaten it, like Manaphy and to an extent Kingdra, but not really. Also is your, I forgot the Storm Drain ability, but also is your Suicune, I'm gonna sit on you Pokemon. Set up full spikes on it, so it's not so passive. Like the fact that it can actually get spikes makes it not passive, so not as passive. It's actually going to be getting damage on opposing Pokemon, which I think is going to be really cool for Gastrodon. I feel like Gengar is so disrespectful, but I mean, it makes sense that Gengar fell down, right? It really does. And and I can explain this pretty easily, but look at the OU tier. I'm sorry, look at the UU tier. I apologize. There's not one Pokemon on that list that Gengar knocks out in one hit, or doesn't like lose 1v1 That's a better one, because it can knock out Latios in one hit if it's like Life Orb respects. But with Torn in UU running Assault Vest is #1 thing. Scarlet having the priority. I don't remember if Scarlet just got banned. I think it did just get banned, but its speed tier is nasty too. You got a speed type with Latios and Ogerpon as well, and Iron Moth. You gotta deal with Scizor's priority. You gotta deal with Greninja being faster than you and threatening you with a dark move, not being able to KO Garchomp and losing the Earthquake. Like, makes sense that it'd fall down to RU. I'm a little sad to see Gengar down here. How the mighty have fallen on one of the strongest Pokemon of all time, base 130 as well. And it's interesting too because this mon is basically Espeon. If you didn't know, their stats are like extremely comparable, right? 60. 65, 65, 60, 60, 65, 60, 130, 130, 110, 110, just better. But Gengar actually has worse stats than Espeon. But yeah, they're very, very comparable. But the Shadow Balls, the Focus Blast, the Sludge Waves, I'm actually, this is probably one of the first mons I'm going to be featuring in the RU tier. I mean, I'll be featuring a lot of mons because the whole team, and I'll probably be using a whole bunch of bulk and stuff. But expect like a video with this probably tomorrow or something. But yeah, I'm sure like Specs Gengar is going to be strong. Spec Shadow Balls look really strong in its tier. Ghost in general just has only been buffed. So, no Pursuit, just no Steel Resist, etc., etc. It's only been buffed since the Generations has been out. So I feel like Gengar can do it. I don't know if we'll see a lot of nasty plot sweeps. I think the tier is going to be a little bit too fast-paced for that, but I think the best way to use it will be Specs and just click buttons. I think Scarf can do it too. Icy Wind as well to deal with like Salamence and stuff like that. So Paddle fell down here. I think instead of just being your standard bulky wall, which is what it's going to do, probably hit from the fighting type. Fizdef, he hits from the fighting type. Spidef, he hits from like Gengar and like Infernape, and probably even take a hit from Kingdra, shoot, if it's Spidef with Terra Water as well. But that's the main thing Hip was going to do, set up rocks, set up sand. You might see some, I mentioned the other dogs that have Sand Rush in the game, but you might see something with Hippo plus Houndstone on like a fun team. I don't know, maybe there'll be a serious team with Hippo Houndstone as well, because you could definitely do like some sort of Hippo, Tentacruel. Yo, you could do some DPP stuff if you really want to. Hippo, Cresselia, Tentacruel, Blissey type squad. If you really want to, shoot. Breloom as well. Just toss it on. Get you a nice little pert too. Whatever you want. Suicune. Like, you can actually make a coherent DPP OU team in RU right now. And it'll be strong. But Hippo is mainly just going to, Whirlwind, Slack Off, and an Earthquake. That's what Hippo is going to do. It's going to sit there. It's going to sit. It's going to tank a hit from Thundurus Therian. It's going to tank a hit from Gyarados. It's going to tank a hit from Salamence. It's going to whirlwind them the hell out. But yeah, Mon is just not enough for the UU tier. If I want a ground type Trez was there. If I want a rocker that gets chip damage, instead of hitting my entire team with Sandstream for a couple turns, I'd rather use Garganical and Salt Cure them and protect and get that recovery as well. But I think it fits really well, especially with the 4 Pokemon, like the 2 on that's left and the 1 on its right. One of the craziest, the craziest ones is Hydreigon dropping down. Let's just talk about, like, Roost nerf is so whack, man. No Roost is so stupid for this mon. It has such great defensive attributes, and you just not giving it recovery is so dumb, especially in a metagame where it can terrasilize. Like, obviously Terra Steel and Terra Poison are good into fairy types, and sub Nasty Plot is cool, but if this mon can Nasty Plot recover Draco Dark Pulse, oh my god. Now, I will say, UU, in terms of dark types and dragons, Greninja and Latios outclass it. In terms of the special mons that can tank it, I mean, you literally just go out to Assault Vest Tournament, just tank it like you did back in the day, and then you turn out and get your regen. So kind of outclassed in UU, a special attacker, and it also was a little bit harder for this mon to do something. But I think in RU specifically, look at the power around it. Them specs, Dracos look absolutely insane right now. The Nasty Plot set with Flash Cannon, Terra Steel, for something like Comfy or any other fairies, real fairies in the tier as well. I love Comfy, but you know, better fairies. Crazy though to see another pseudo legendary down in RUV. That's not like the first one we have in this list. That's not the only one we have in this list, rather. But wild to see that mon not being there. But yeah, I think Specs and Scarf are going to be good in this tier. Period. Good speed tier, good revenge killing. Specs Terra Dragon looks stupid. It actually looks stupid good. I'm trying to think of like, what is going to, you're just going to Terra Dragon immediately and click Draco Meteor and just get a kill. It's going to super nuke and has U-turn for momentum, which I think is nice. Love me some Incineroar. I hope it actually continues to fall down. Personally, I don't want it to stay RU. I want it to stay NU. I think it'd be nice in the NU tier, especially when you have like Chandler running that tier right now. And Flagon and stuff like that. A nice, simple Intimidate from Incineroar and just its natural bulk is going to be good. But, yo, man, and this mon actually has a lot of viability in OU as well. I did a live with C2C and everybody. It was great. It put in a ton of work the entire time. Just shuffling around, knocking off items, wisping. They just make this mon better and better, man. Every generation. Terra's going to be good. You'll probably get away with like a Terra Water in this tier just because of Manaphy and things like that. So Terra Water Parting Shot, which I think is still really good. Water is such a good natural typing. It is. Water and Fairy, just probably the two types you really want to be if you can. Not necessarily with Incineroar, but just in general. I think Water is going to be better for it than Fairy would be, though. But Fairy's cool because, you know, fighting resist, which I think is nice. But Intimidate's going to help for the most part. That's just going to be Parting Shot around. I think it's going to be nice on your balances. I feel like if Alamola was down this tier, Alamola and Incineroar would be so strong. And why do I say that? Because I've used that in lower tiers in previous generations. But it'd be so strong. But I don't think you're going to be seeing much Swords Dance offensiveness, though. I do think a weakness policy set with Power Trip could definitely do something. Flame Charge, like the old school sets. I think it's a little bit more cheese, though, in that way. And I do think it's going to be on your balances and good for Psychic Terrain, like good for Armor Rouge, good into the Indeedee that we'll be talking about. I mean, it says Indeedee right there, right? But Indeedee is just going to be, why is it, oh, wait, why does not, it says from UU to RU. Why is it automatically NU? Huh. That's weird. That's really weird. Hold up, that's actually really weird. 1 second. So after seeing this and then seeing Indeedee and NU here, but seeing that it rose up to UU before it randomly got banned from the tier, and I talked to a few people as well that are higher up on Smogon, I can proudly say that I have no idea why the hell it says NUCU. I have zero idea. You're welcome, though. Thank you. I know we're all... Whatever, man. You can use... I guess you can use both Indeedees up there, too. I guess it don't even matter. Whatever. That might be a mistake. That might not be, but you use it in NU. Shoot. But I'm going to use it in UU because I got an Armor Rouge right there. My boy Infernape. Huh? Huh? Did they quick ban Infernape? I don't see Infernape quick banned at all. That is really weird. And see, now I got another question, but like I'm taking a screenshot. I take a screenshot of Infernape right there. It says illegal, but it's not banned. Maybe the tiers. Oh, I'm looking at NU. I'm so dumb. I'm so freaking dumb. I'm so dumb. I'm dumb. Please ignore. Anyway, I was looking at NU. I was like, yo, what the hell is happening? Because I mean, obviously Indeedee's wrong, but Infernape, I was like, bro, it didn't get banned already. Anyway, Ape looks so cool in this tier. It's gonna be like some sort of DPP reunion. What's good, Hippo? How you doing? Hey, Rotom Wash. What's up, Braylon? Hey, Blissy. And of course, it's gonna get, you know, same thing that Infernape always has the problem with. If it's Life Orb, it kills itself too quickly. If it's Choice Band, it gets locked in and it's not strong enough. However, Terra does help a lot. Terra Fight, close combats, I think are going to help this mon a lot when it comes to the outright damage, especially when you actually look at the RU tier. And like Politoed is not a resist to close combat, right? In OU, you can't beat the Rain Setter in Pelipper unless you Thunder Punch it. But with this, no, Politoed is getting clean 2-shot by close combat. If I'm Terra Fight, Banded, Choice Band, CC, ooh, it's just a Banded Choice Band, you know, gotta let them know just in case you don't know. I'm about to do a lot of work. I'm excited about Ape. Nasty Plot seems pretty cool. Scarf, okay, I guess for revenge killing, Hydreigon and stuff like that. Scarf Hydreigon, things like that, non-choice Gengars and stuff like that. Just being able to U-turn around, I think is going to be nice. Going to have a lot of problems, I think, down here, though. I think it's going to end up being too weak to do much. I still think it'll be top 10 in uses because it's a freaking Infernape, and that everybody, this mon is cool as hell. I think, objectively speaking, this mon is cool as hell. I'm saying objectively here because it is a fact that Infernape is cool. Period. That's it. It is a fact. Forget everything else. This is a fact. Infernape is sick. All right, that mon is cool as hell. And can I just say that the 3 of the Pokemon down here make one of my favorite teams. 4 of the Pokemon down here make one of my favorite DPOU teams ever, with Suicune, Kingdra. No, I lied. It's Kingdra, Infernape, Gengar, Jirachi, Metagross, and Tyranitar would be it. I apologize. Only 3 of them do. But wait a second. No. Tyranitars are you? Yeah, boy. Damn it, it's you. No. I'm glad it's you, but anyway. Able is cool. Knockoff is a nice little buff for it. I think it's going to be clicking close combat and you turn around for the most part. I don't know if you'll be getting much use out of like Extra Belt or Life Orb sets, to be honest. I think just you're killing yourself with Life Orb. I think Extra Belt's a little bit too weak. Love Kingdra. We already mentioned how strong that's going to be on Rain. I think Rain's probably going to be dealt with in RU. I don't know if Rain's going to stay in RU, especially with better Rain abusers that just went down in Kingdra. Because you already have Basculegion. You have both Basculegions, even though one of them fell down. You can still use it. You can bring it back up. But this is just an insane. This is better. This is better than the female Basculegion, because Kingdra has Stab Draco. That's it. Literally, Stab Draco. Of course, Death Blade is nice in that one. Cleavor is so sad to see in RU, but especially because it was top 10 in UU for a long time. And then soon Arcanine came out. It's still really good. But one of the better things about Cleavor is it hits hard as hell, right? The Sharpness X Scissors to a kill, like things like Quagsire cleanly. Not cleanly, but it's like a roll to a KO. I think it's in your favor without a choice item, by the way. This is just sharpness in your 135 base attack. So I love that. Offensively, I think Scarf is going to be incredible. I think it's going to do the exact same thing. Scarf and Ban, I think those are going to be the best sets. I think Scarf is literally going to be its best set, because just being able to attack and revenge something and set up Stealth Rock while doing that is huge. Really good tier for Cleavor, in my opinion. Ari's going to be strong, and it's going to be good to it. Manaphy, what are you doing? What's up? How? What are you actually doing? I love this mon not even broken in UU. I mean, Avitorn, Latios, yeah, makes sense. You got the mons that can deal with it, knock it off, and then just do a bunch of damage. Plus, Luster Purge being buffed is one of the biggest things. Do you guys think Manaphy is going to be broken in RU? I don't want to predict it to be, and then just, like, it not, just because of the fact that we're in a way that tier shifts are crazy, right? And I think this is just going to keep happening all the way up until generation whatever, or as long as, at least I'll be covering them up until I'm done with YouTube. I have no idea when I'll be done. Hopefully I'm not done for many years. I love what I do. But if you made it to this part of the video, and whether you're subbed or not, or this is like one of your first videos of me, first off, thank you so much. That's really nice of you. And if this is not one of your first videos of me, thank you so much. That's very nice of you. I need you to leave down below. I can't believe the captain of the Bronze Beartix is Aru. That's too long. Some version of that will be fine. But yeah, that's one of my OG draft Pokemon. I freaking love Manaphy. I think the Astro Arbor sets look strong. I think this is going to be incredible on Rain. Probably going to end up running like Terra Fairy or Terra Poison on it as well, outside of Rain, if you want to avoid like Toxic and stuff. Resist Shadow Balls, resist Poison moves as well. Just strong. Gengar's strongest move, Sludge Wave, right? But Tail Glow set sounds good. Take Heart set sounds really strong too. Very oppressive mon, I think. We'll see if it actually has the power, because it's like looking at all these mons in RU, it's kind of wild to see, but at the same time, like their power levels all around the same thing, right? You're hitting somewhere between 100 special attack to 130. You're hitting somewhere between 100 attack to 130, 135 type of thing. So these are all around. It might be wild to see them all in RU, but they're all kind of around the same power level in some way or another. Whether the defenses or offenses are around the same, they're all kind of around the same thing. So we'll see if Manaphy ends up being busted. I love that Mousehold ended up falling down to RU when it's good in OU and good in UU. And Cinccino is UU because Triple Axle is insane on that mon. That one actually having coverage is big. Obviously, it's still weaker than Mousehold because Population Bomb hitting 10 times is insane. But yeah, I think it's going to be crazy on offense. I think it's speed tier over Gengar. It's speed tier over everything so far right there. Faster than literally everything on this list, by the way. Faster than literally everything on this list. It's going to be an oppressive mon in the RU tier. It was RU before as well for a bit. And usually it ran like Terra Fire to deal with like Slitherwing and stuff like that. I believe it was RU. Ran Terra Fire to deal with like First Impression, resist that sort of thing. Can also run Terra Ghost to do the exact same thing. It probably will run Terra Ghost in this one just because of Conkeldurr and things like that too. Resisting that Mach Punch. Resisting Slitherwing's First Impression. Protect also works as well. But the standard Tidy Up, Population Bomb, Bite. Encore also works too if you don't want to use Protect. I think that's going to be so good. You pair this thing with something that knocks off the Rocky Helmet on Hippo or all the other defensive mons as well. And it's just going to be like crazy. Oh, okay. So what happened here is Indeedee's NU. Let me explain why Indeedee was NU. Indeedee's NU. It generated Rose to UU from PU, and then this month it fell out of UU, so it should have gone to PU. But it had enough uses to rise to NU in January as well, so it's NU. And how is it different from Blissey? Blissey rose pre-DLC 2. Indeedee rose post-DLC 2. Okay, so didn't really explain much to me, but that's the reason they're giving. And also, apparently, all of PU BL was unbanned. So yeah, that makes sense why that would all happen. Anyway, I think Malassa's going to be freaking good in this tier, and I'm excited to click Population Bomb with it in this tier. Minior, the bane of my existence. Oof, that Mon could have been OU. Now, the only reason Minior was all the way up there is because of the challenge, literally because of the ladder challenge. This Mon will continue to fall down. Do I think that Shell Smash sets are going to be bad, though? No, I think they have a lot of potential. I think anything with cheese and screens can do a lot of things. But when it comes to the RU tier and, like, let's say Light Clay, I'm pretty sure Light Clay is ban Shell Smash, but let's put this, and this, and this, and let's just put some random EVs. Yep, Light Clay's banned. So it's gonna take a little bit. Screens aren't gonna be as strong, but I do think it's some cheese. But I think this is one that's gonna keep falling down. I really do. Moltres being in RU, I think that Heavy Duty Boots opens up a lot for it. Nice little Fizz Def as well. Will-O-Wisp sets. This is, if you look at top 10 in usage. Can check Mammal Swine unless it's Rock Blast, Stone Edge, or anything like that. Checks Zarude as well unless Rock Slide, etc. Can check Conk or Hurricane. Terra Water Fizz Def can also help you deal with rain and stuff like that. Spadef can also help you deal with rain too. Terra Water Spadef, specifically for like Kingdra and things like that. So also a nice little Tinkaton answer. So Tinkaton goes for knockoff, gets Flame Body. Gonna find a nice little place in the RU tier. I like it. Necrozma. Ooh, probably one of my favorite mons to come back. Necrozma is so freaking strong. Every tier I've used this in, it's been insane. I think Meteor Beam is just so freaking good. Like, they got rid of the Cosmic Power, Stored Power set, because you still have Stored Power, but they got rid of Cosmic Power. Obviously, that would have been crazy. But I'm sure Calm Mind sets can be just as bad in its own right, and Dragon Ant sets. But I do think that the Meteor Beam, Photon Geyser, Heat Wave, Earth Power sets are kind of, it's going to be its bread and butter. You're going to use this with Power Herb, right? So you don't have to charge one turn for Meteor Beam, and you're basically going to use it to break through something like a Spadef wall like Tinkaton and Empoleon to allow one of your teammates to put in work, whether that be a Porygon or a Manaphy or a Rain team like that. That's what you're kind of going to do with this Mon, and I think it's going to be a nice break, literally just a nice strong wall breaker with base 127 special attack. You get the plus one, what is that, 547 special attack or something like that. The number is actually something like that. I don't remember. I think it was something like that. 575, 574, whatever it was in that video. Just a nice breaker. I think that's what it's going to do. I think it can set up Trick Room as well nicely for things like Araquanid. Really cool. Okie dokie. Finally, my friend. You've made it down. I think this Mon falls to NU. I'm not even sure. I love Toxic Chain. There's so many fighters. And look at the NU tier. By the way, look at everything that fell from RU to NU. So many fighters. So I don't know if this Mon is actually going to make it in this tier. Just because there's a lot of competition. Or there's a lot against fighters in this tier. You have like Conk as well. Like there's a lot of competition for fighters. And then it not really being able to break Fezandipity. Well, that's because a lot of those fighters couldn't break Fezandipity, which is a big thing behind it. But you got like Ape and Lycanroc's damn near a fighting type with close combat, Tough Claws boosted and stuff like that. But I do like its ability to set up and just be strong. Like base 115, this is like Buzzwole, right? This is Buzzwole with the ability to tank hits. It doesn't have Roost though, but it does have Drain Punch, which is cool. Actually, I think it'd be good. I don't see why a Terra Water bulk up set wouldn't just be good. You can run Toxicity, you can run Guard Dog for Salamence. I don't see why it wouldn't be good. I really don't. You have knockoff too. You have all the makings of a strong Pokemon in itself. So I can see it being solid. I can see it staying in the tier. Also, like, it's defensive enough to eat hits from, like, again, all the physical mons. Like Mens and Pert and here, all the other fighters it naturally resist. If the ones that are left. it also sets up on Conkeldurr, right? The strongest fighting type in the tier. So I like it. Ooh, Porygon. I'm a big freaking fan of this mon. The download sets I like more than adaptability, just because raising that special attack, basically giving you that double specs on everything. Really, really nice. Crazy wall breaker. You have Tinkaton and you have Empoleon down here. Nice little Thunderbolt +1. You get this, and you get the download special attack raise. Oof, smack them, smack them. There's gonna be a Pokemon. This is gonna be a Pokemon. But I feel like whenever I do this, it always turns night whenever I'm done. But this is gonna be a freaking Pokemon. You already know why. Why download over adaptability? Because adaptability is only 2 times, right? And you do that with Terra, that's only 2.25 times. I would rather just always have a special attack raise on all my other Pokemon. That's what I would rather have on all my Pokemon. Like, just to do as much damage as possible. You got Shadow Ball or Dark Pulse for Mimikyu. And then Ice Beam in there. That's your wall breaker. That's your, I don't care about what you have. You can do Terra Ghost, you can do Terra Electric. That's the, I don't care about what your opponents are going to do. I am just going to do as much damage as possible to my opponent the entire time. That is literally what Porygon Z is going to do. And I'm so hyped for that. Ooh, Reuniclus. Another mon that I feel like is like kind of underexplored, and I plan on using it. Both Regenerator and Magikarp sets are good. Regenerator on Assault Vest, Magikarp obviously on Calm Mind. The meta is kind of strong, right? There's a lot of strong Pokemon. You got Kleavor, you got Conk, you got a lot of strong Pokemon. Gengar down here now, Hydreigon. So I think Calm Mind might be a little bit harder to get away with. I do think Assault Vest sets with Terra Fairy can do a lot in this tier though. And Future Sight's being lit up, I think, can do a lot as well. The fact that it gets knockoff, I think, is going to be really nice too. Like, just getting rid of the passive recovery on Tinkaton is a big thing for this mon. So that's exciting. There you go, Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash is Rotom Wash. It's going to do the same thing it always does. It's going to be a nice little defensive water, strong pivot. Just wasn't that strong in the UU tier. Unfortunately, the tier was not very kind to it. The fact that like even like things like Garchomp can run Lum or Terra Fire for Wisp. For offensive sets, it can't even be guard like another one. It wasn't like even Treads was knocking it off and bolting, and like all Torns were running AV. So the best thing that Rotom Wash could do in the UU tier was Thunderwave him. Still isn't the end of the world for a Tornadus either, losing its speed. So ends up falling down. Strong, good enough power level for, I think, in my opinion. Just gonna be able to defensively check like Salamence and Will-O-Wisp, and it having Pain Still back is big. I'm sure it will eventually go back as well. But here, it's Rotom Wash at the end of the day. Does what's going to do best. Voltage around. Mence. Very exciting. I actually want to do some sort of Dragon Spam down here. I feel like it looks really strong. You overwhelm your opponent with Dragons. You got Hydreigon. You got the Mence. You got Kingdra as well. I think can do. Apparently tomorrow I'm doing Crowd Control Emerald, so that'll be really fun. Stark just said something. Nice little Cyclizar as well. You do have to worry about the like. I feel like Dragon Spam like seems really good, right? You use Kleavor instead and use Kleavor instead, right? Like that. You have your anti-dragon, you have your rocker, so you don't have to worry about putting rocks on Mamoswine. And then you just run your Hydreigon, and then you run a Steel. Tinkaton. Not you. Grow the hell up. No, yeah, this one. It looks so sad that I was talking crap to it. And then, you know, your last is probably your other just strong priority or something like that, like Entei, Gengar, to Black Hazards, or I actually like Gengar because you can like I'm sure this team has some sort of coherent value, fighting immunity, things like that. This team has potential. Not good. Just Tinkaton and Gengar, but whatever. It looks like it gets 6-0 by Rain. I'm sure some Terra types can do something like that. But Dragon Dance, just defensive as well. Roost, unfortunately, doesn't have Defog anymore, which is big for it defensively. But like Specs, Band, Scarf, Dragon Dance, all have potential when it on this mon. So I mean, it's definitely gonna be one of those like I'm gonna take over the tier, whether you like it or not, type of Pokemon. And I'm all here for it when it comes to Mence. Slowking is big. Finally. Right? They already had Slowbro, but now you got the King, and the big thing about the King is Chilly Reception has made its way back into the RU tier. And when it comes to that, you know what that means? It's a Titan ban still? Nope, that's NUBL, so the Titan is still there. You still got a Bear Tick if you want. You still have a Sand Slash if you... That's a pile of sand. You still have a Sand Slash if you want. Basically, you got the Slush Rush users back if you really want to. But also, let's just look at Ice type when it comes to the RU tier. Defense boost. Cloyster with Shell Smash and a defense boost. Frostmoth with Quiver Dance on the defense boost. Glacier. Like all these Mon actually look viable now because Slowking just gives them, it's just the best enabler. It's going to come in, take a hit from Gengar and Chilly Reception out, and then take a hit from Hydreigon Mons it's supposed to be weak to, and then Chilly Reception out. It's going to come in and wall Kingdra, and then Chilly Reception out and beat Rain. Probably actually when it's going to be one of the stronger options into Rain, right? On balance, this is going to be your go-to Mon in my opinion. Smeargle. There you go. What's going on outside? Yeah. I mean, they banned Spore, so you can't do that, but you obviously have your Stone Axe and your Cecil Sedge and your Nuzzle and whatever from there. Burning Bulwark as the ones I fight on the ladder love to use versus me. But something like this with like Terraghost, if you're real, you can use like a Shell Smash, Population Bomb, Power Trip. So that shout out to Envy and all the other people on the ladder that have used it too. But besides that, it's going to be a fun lead on cheese offenses that you, if you just don't want to think about your lead. Suicune. Ooh, cannot wait to Subcombine Protect Scald with my favorite Pokemon and then 1v1 quite literally everything. Even Pokemon that I'm supposed to lose to, like Milotic and stuff like that. I'm just going to pressure stall them. And oh, a bad matchup? Don't mind if I do. I'll Terrasilize right here. Thank you. Into a toxic poison type maybe to avoid the poisoned and, you know, burn them with Scald. Ain't nothing they can do to stop. There's literally nothing they can do to stop on to stomp rather on this Mon. Like it's gonna be good. I'm sure you can throw away some Ice Beam Combine sets too. I like Swampert. Nice little sturdy stealth rocker. Got the knockoff buff. Has still flip turn. Has Earthquake. Whoops. None of those moves I talked about, but close enough. Just defensively sound. Get up your rocks. Again, another nice little balance Mon. Tentacruel can do very similar, but also will get up T-Spikes and will rapid spin away. It having flip turn now is a big buff for it as well. Good anti-rain user too. Toxic spikes. Toxic and toxic, you know, double toxic. You got the haze as well for setup. Kind of like Milotic, except it can actually toxic stuff, which is nice. And then from here, you can go right rapid spin. You don't even have to use any attacks really on it. You just flip turn out, do your thing. I think Thundurus is going to be insane in this tier. It's funny because other Thundurus is NU, and this one was UU, but I think this one has just the power. It's the power difference. This is a metagame where you need power. This is Scarlet and Violet is all about being offensive, in my opinion, or unless you're a super tanky Maul, right? But like, and when it terms like, there's a reason why like Thundurus Incarnate is NU, right? It's just not strong enough. But this one is base 145 special attack. This is a wall breaker. It has the Grass Knot, the Thunderbolt, the Psychic, the Sludge Wave, all it needs. Nor do damage. This is a wall breaker in itself. Like it straight up just put in a ton of work. I wonder if the Ninetales has potential as well. I don't know if Heat Rock is banned on this, but with Lilligant falling down, let me see. Let's put let's put that. Let's do. Just we have that. So let's see. Nice. All right. So Drought's legal. Perfect. So Venusaur looks really cool down here in this tier on manual, not manual sun, but on this type of sun. Also nice little combat in the rain. That it's a grass type, so naturally resists the water moves, which is cool. You can Terra Fire, Weather Ball, do things like that if you really want to. I think another Mon that loves both sun and rain, mainly rain. Excuse me, is gonna be Volcanion. Great anti-rain Mon right here, and obviously Hydro Steam is gonna be nice. Like I'm not Hydro Steam. Whoops, Steam Eruption. Sorry, I'm about to say that. I mean, the reason this Mon ain't tearing it up in OU is you got a Walking Wake right there that can abuse it. Its moves even better, right? Yeah, Hydro Steam instead of Steam Eruption, but you know, Flamethrower, just gonna be a strong breaker down here too. I feel like you'll be using some of the trapping set as well with Fire Spin, but I do feel like the only reason you use that set is to beat maybe Slowking. So taunt Fire Spin as Slowking comes in and then beat it down from there. I don't even know if you beat Slowking down before it actually beats you is a thing. Because Slowking's so spadef, but you can run like Terra Blast Grass or something to 2-hit KO it with Fire Spin extra damage. But besides that, yeah, just strong. And then Gyarados is probably going to be one of the fighters that actually stays in this tier just because Choice Band and Choice Scarf. Really good breakers, doesn't care about defog, drops like that, just a close combat, Brave Bird stuff. But speaking of fighting types, from RU to NU, we have so many fighting types, starting off with, you know, the best fighting type in the tier, Electivire. Because Electivire is, of course, electric fighting, as everybody knows. Now, Electivire fell off. It's going to keep falling. This mon's going to fall. It's not going to be great in NU. I'm sorry. Flygon #1 in usage. I mean, you can do some Terrafly bulk up stuff, sure. But then you just get revenge kill by like Chandelure and like Staraptor. And I mean, you're a natural check to Thunder, which is cool. You're immune to the Thunderbolt, and it raises your speed, as well as the fact that you resist the Terrafly. But I mean, even +2 Terrafly is going to 2-KO Electivire through resistances, and you're not going to kill back with weak Ice Punch. I wish they gave this Pokemon Icicle Crash. It definitely looks like a Pokemon that should be Icicle Crashing. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Electivire falls down to PU. I think the main reason it even is in this tier is because some of us were using it before and it ended up, in RU, just because of the way the new tiers fall. But Basculegion, ooh. So that is Basculegion male, I believe. Yep. So that's male Basculegion. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's a good physical attacker, but why would I use this over something like Barraskewda? Literally. The only big difference is that this mon resists First Impression, and this mon is immune to Hydro Pump. Mach Punch from Conkeldurr. But I mean, it also is weak to Ghost moves and Dark moves. So Barraskewda obviously had its place up there. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up moving back up, assuming Rains ended up staying, just because it'd be good. I am excited about this mon though in this tier because we do have the adaptability choice band sets, which I think will be cool. So you obviously have your Wave Crash, but I think for the it's basically a Crawdon of this tier. Basically a Crawdon of this tier. Flip turn. Wish we'd unban land Rasper for like a day. I'm sure you can use Terra Blast if you really want to. Terra Blast Ghost. But of course, Terrastalizing into a Ghost, not that great. You kind of lose. You still get stab on this, but you kind of lose the buff with the adaptability. So I'm sure I'll do something like this instead. And then Aqua Jet. Like I have no reason to believe that I would do anything other than this, because at least your Terra Water moves are gonna hit hard as hell. At least tell it is going to hit hard as hell in this tier. That's basically it when it comes to NU. And it's going to be a solid NU Pokemon. I'm actually very excited. I think Manual Rain is going to be something that you can use with this thing too, which I think is going to be nice. Definitely. And we have the Decidueye. Hisui. Bro, I'm sorry. You are... It's not that great of a Pokemon. It is not. NU already has a bunch of fighting types as well. Let's just look at the fighting types in NU without looking at Decidueye. Right, so More as well. Flamigo! You got Flamigo, you got Heracross, which is the big one, too. And of course, you just got Lilligant, you just got Palmont. Tauros is already top 10 in usage. You just got Lucario. Yeah, I think Decidueye faces too much competition. I think it's going to keep falling down as well. Lower tier. Defog is big. Defog is big. I don't know why they didn't let this thing keep spikes, man. It has spikes in the game. Legends Arceus, just give it spikes here. But I don't think it's going to do much. Oh, I'm excited about Executor. I really am. Choice Specs is going to be insane. One of my favorite just breakers. Like all around. Just going to drop in Draco, up a Leaf Storm, 2 shoot. You got the Flamethrower right there. You can do Trick, or you can do Energy Ball, of course. But this is a tier where this sounds really good. I think the Endure Harvest set actually sounds really strong down here too. Well, it wasn't that great in OU when I used it. If you want to see a good version of that in OU, check out Blind's video. But this mon was just a nice breaker. That's all it's going to do. Nice breaker. Get rid of typing as well. You can Terrify. You can do whatever you want on it. Nice little 4 times resist to water is pretty big too. So you can come in nice and the passive water types, which I think is nice. Being able to do a ton of damage. Kind of similar on the physical side. Golurk. Choice Band, Poltergeist, No Guard. Don't have to worry about missing. Dynamic Punches, Earthquakes, etc., etc. Terra Fairy is really good too, just because you are resistant to the dark type attacks that come at you. All the fighting types are going to go for it versus you. I think also being able to trick away items with like Klutz and Assault Vest sounds really fun too. There's a lot of fun mons with this thing. Does it end up staying in the tier? Maybe. It's a strong breaker, but I mean, again, as a physical mon, it kind of faces a ton of competition. You got Staraptor, you got all the other fighters as well. But it's a ground ghost, really good typing. And it's strong, but I don't know. Is it? I mean, it has Ice Punch as well. I don't know. It comes in on the passive mons, but there's not a lot of too many passive mons in the NU tier. I'm gonna do a lot of NU with Rabia though, so don't worry. Grimmsnarl's back. This mon was so good in NU, and it ran the same set, by the way. Parting Shot, Play Rough or Spirit Break. Let's assume that. and then you had your Sucker Punch, and basically all it did was just parting shot around the entire time. That's all this mon ever did, parting shot around the entire time, and then just set up for other opportunities. You could even use bulk up as well on this set in particular. You could actually use bulk up, but all it was doing was just being a nice little check to psychics and a nice little check to dragons and whatever it wants to do, and then parting shot around. I'm sure it's going to do very similar. I think the tier is too strong for this to be a bulk up set, but I do think bulk up Sucker Punch does have potential though, because Terra Dark bulk up Sucker Punch is cool. So maybe there's potential for that, but I'm kind of like iffy against it. I love that Indeedee and Hitmonlee are allowed, because Unbird and Hitmonlee sounds crazy, right? We already had Sceptile, but the fact that Indeedee is back, the good one isn't in, because you could use this one, but this one's better. This one's strong. Also, this is the only one with expanding force. Like the other one, for whatever reason, I believe lost expanding force. Yeah, like why? But yeah, that's gonna be nice little psychic terrain with Hitmonlee. The fact that it now has Swords Dance as a buff is really cool. So we're definitely gonna be able to use this combination as well. Should probably look at the teams that Rabia pasted to me without pasting him. I'm so hyped. I'm not gonna look at the Pokebase because I want you guys to be surprised when we do videos though. Though if it's a Rabia video, you're not gonna be surprised. You know, you're gonna have a Gligar, have a nice little, he has like standards he likes to do. I love Lilligant. I think Manual Sun is gonna be really cool down here. He has so many mons that actually have a lot of potential in this tier, but I think in general the Victory Dance set looks very strong. Very, 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 very strong. You could use Hustle, you could use Wide Lens if you really want to have like 88 accuracy on all your moves. Probably Ice Spinner over Triple Axle because you're not trying to miss, you know what I'm saying? And then you got the Leaf Blade right there. You can run Terra Blast Ghost if you really want to, Terra Blast Ground, just moves that can deal with Chandelure is what you kind of want when it comes to this Pokemon. But yeah, sounds like a nasty wall breaker, and I'm very excited about it. If you don't want to use this, you can use like Choice Band and put in some work. It also has some fun little options like Sunspore and things like that. And I do think, again, the Chlorophyll set sounds very, very strong, because even like Chandelure does not appreciate a Solar Blade coming at it. It does not appreciate a Solar Blade. Same thing with Lucario. This mon sounds stupid late game. Like, sure, Palisand can wall, but damn. Your Swords Dance Terra normal standard dots. Ooh, I think the fact that Chandelure is like top 10 makes a big difference. I think that Flygon only lives +2 E3 Terra normal if it's Terra Steel, which sometimes they run. So that's not bad, but you got to run Jolly on this mon though because of Chandelure, which obviously hurts your damage output. You can run Silk Scarf. This is the mon where you can run Life Orb on, because even though it kills itself, it's supposed to just do as much damage as possible. Standard out Lucario. Gonna have a lot of fun with this mon. Very excited to use it. Palmot, very similar. Decent Revival Blessing mon as well. It's crazy that this move came out and it's just not broken. If this had been a full revive, it would be a lot better. Also, it had been a better Pokemon too, right? But if it had been a full revive, it'd be crazy. But what I like about this is a fighting type. It has Grass Knot, and it actually has a respectable, like not that respectable, but a respectable-ish special attack stat. So it can 2-hit KO Palisand, which I believe is really nice. But I'm also sure we'll see someone crazy on the ladder using Rest Talk, Nuzzle, Revival Blessing, just to get as many as he can on like fatter teams. I think it's gonna be a little bit hard just because of the power creep here, but I like the fact that Volt Absorb lets you deal with Thunderous as well. And then Rampardos is going to just keep falling and falling. This mon's not staying that high. I love that these mons had more uses than Terrakion, though. I think it's very funny that they had more uses than Terrakion when they first came back. Because we were all using Iron Boulder. We were all using new Terrakion. Why would we use old Terrakion? But yeah, Rampardos is going to keep falling, ZU, PU type of thing. Going to be fun on Trick Room. That's about it. And Whimsicott has some potential as well. Very good speed tier for this tier. I think you can get away with choice specs as well, because Moonblast and Shadow Ball are kind of free in this tier. Then you can run Terra Blast, maybe Ground or Water, in order to deal with Colossal, and then of course, resist Chandelure's move if you really want to. And then you can use U-Turn or Switcheroo, or obviously your Grass move is pretty big too. Giga Drain, where are you? Well, Energy Ball probably in this case, just for the extra damage. But specs, I think Encore sets sound fun, though they're worse in a metagame like where Dark types are, they don't care about that crap. But moving on to the PU tier. Oof, we have quite a bit of Pokemon. So Ninetales fell up. They unbanned Toxapex, which is cool. But Ninetales fell down to PU. That doesn't matter. That mon's going to be used in other tiers. Like, quite literally. like Ninetales is going to be, I'm just going to kind of pick and choose what I want to talk about, but like Ninetales is going to be used in other tiers. I don't even know if you can actually even use Drought in PU. If you can, I'm pretty sure it's Heat Rock is banned or some crap like that, but oh wow, so you can actually use Drought in the PU tier. Was Ninetales not PU before, so that's maybe it, and Torkoal never fell down. Vulpix though, but Vulpix ended up being NUBL, so they weren't able to use it in PU. Interesting, so this is new territory for PU. Okay, well, automatically thinking anything with chlorophyll sounds good. Any fire type sounds good as well. I think some of the crazier mons are Galarian Articuno. The Calm Mind stored power sets sound nasty. Snorlax and Scyther are really interesting too. Lax makes sense for the drop down, honestly. Just the influx of fighting types now is just so crazy. I also think like 8 PP Rust kind of hurts it too. And it just didn't really get any buffs. It did not. Terra is cool, but it's not. It's too passive. It's way too passive. This month. Tauros fell down. I mean, Tauros Water is the #1 up. Then if you want to fire type in any, you were using Chandelure, so that makes sense. So that fell down. Toad Squirrel. I think in terms of spikes, Coolfish was just better in the tier. Swimming Coolfish as well, being better. I mean, we can even look at the usage stats as well for NU. But you know, you got Diancie as a great spiker as well. Gligar is obviously there and just solid grass type as well. And Serena at #2, so not a lot of reason to use that great spinner. You have Tornadus falling down to PU. Yo, what's going on, fam? Nah, but with Thunders being up there and Diancie, it makes sense. Zoroark falling down to PU is really interesting too, because I think that Zoroark is still really, really good in NU. I just think it's hard with the influx of fighters, Diancie being around, let's using Terra Steel, Terra Blast to deal with it. Everything you turning around, even Espeon, which is top 10 in usage, having like Dazzling Gleam, Terra Fairy, makes sense. Scyther is crazy because that mon is good. I got blasted by a Scarf Terra Blast Ice. I love that set. That was really cool from the opponent. But again, just the influx of like Diancie and Thunders being around, Scarf Flygon and stuff like that kind of makes sense why Scyther would fall down. Rhydon, yeah, just not too much competition as a rocker between Gligar and Diancie offensively. And then, you know, at least Gligar, well, it doesn't have recovery, it does have U-turn, so it can get on out of there, bad matchups, and it can go for knockoff, which is big. Same thing with Sandslash. Sandslash can knock off and do things like that, but ends up falling down as well. Regigigas, again, that mon was never going to be, that mon's falling all the way down to ZU. It really is. Maybe it'll be crazy in PU with Terra, but I don't think so. But yeah, it's falling down for sure to the tier. Oricorio kind of fell off, which is really sad. Because that mon was actually banned in the beginning, but when the power increases, this mon falls down. I just think it's still pretty nasty in the tier 2. I'm a big fan of Oricorio. But now all the Oricorios are PU and down, which is crazy, whereas they were banned from like RU, NU, and ZU and stuff previously. Meganium, another mon that's probably falling down to ZU. Lapras, probably Dragon Ancestors can be cool. Hoopa, a mon that was like really, really good in NU for a bit, but like as an offensive ghost type, I'm using Chandelure right now. And Bruxish is kind of similar. As an offensive water, I'm using Tauros if I'm doing that. So then we look at the, let's actually put this right here, right? Because it's interesting to look at PU, right? Because you have offensive water as your float but now you have Bruxish as an option, which is pretty cool. Your rocker, you have Sandaconda, which is really good. You also have now Sandslash and Rhydon as options too, which I like a lot. From PU to ZU, oof, look at all them drops. The ones that I think were crazy is like Shaman is look at Shaman in ZU. I'm not going through all of them because some of them are just like whatever Pokemon to me, but I do think all the mons here that have chlorophyll have potential in PU because of Ninetales being there, and I do think Ninetales is going to be kind of pulled up to RU or maybe even NU at a point. But the ones that are crazy, again, ZU, Shaman is wild. It's insane. Like, they took everything from this mon. Like, what? Bro, no hidden power does this much? You down this bad? You don't even look like you should be down there with these Pokemon. Like, look at ZU. ZU still has some babies in top 10. Like, bro, how you have Carbink in top 10, but you got Shaman down there? I love that Servine's #9, by the way, with Terra and stuff like that. Honchkrow #8 makes sense. Anything stopping Honchkrow right now, you have Avalugg that came down, which is cool. Magneton as well as a check. Piloswine, I think, is going to be top 10 in usage for sure. It's just a great rocker. Tauros, regular Tauros, by the way, is at #1 in usage. Any fighters that kind of can overthrow it that fell down, nothing really. You got some good Defoggers in Swatter, though. The lower Pokemon go, the better it is for like the majority of it, though. But the ones that are looking crazier to me are the Oricorio, Shaman, offensively, Glaceon is always super strong. Ice is just really strong. You have some great spinners that fell down. You literally have so many great spinners and defoggers that fell down. Veluza has a +2/+2/+2 move, and that mon fell down to ZU, excuse me. So it's wild to think like that. I like Basculin. I think Scarf is really strong. Quaxwell rather, is still number 7, but like, I mean, with Crognal and Avalugg down there, and all the defoggers. Lurantis as well is really cool too, with the Contrary and Defog too. I'm sure that mon's not going to stay all the way. Persian in a tier where Sneasler's number 3 is pretty decent. Houndoom number 2, but you have Pyroar, which probably kind of outclasses it, right? Like, Dark is better stab than normal. But, I mean, you have Terra Blast, which is stab prior, like before and after. So it's really nice. Electros just being a nice pivot as well. Yeah, Z is about to be shaken up. I'm really excited, though, about these tiers. I kind of, I'm really excited. We'll be playing a lot of these. I know some people don't like the lower tiers when we upload them. Some people love them. I personally love playing them, especially, when things with OU, not to say get stale, but like, unless I'm doing like a series of Blender or something, like we want to show off the mons where they can best perform. Then again, at the same time, I still love showing off, mons that are not that great in OU, and I love when they put in work as well. But I also think that we're at a power level where, like, him only for, let's look at UU, right? UU is literally OU, right? At this point, you can't, like, you look at it, I get comments every single time, like, yo, I thought this was OU, until I saw that you said it was UU, like, 15 minutes in. So, I don't know, it's a crazy metagame right now. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you did get this far, I appreciate you. Leave a like, sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!